The year is 1968. The fight for civil rights was going strong as the injustice of society's treatment of Black Americans and other oppressed people of color were being made known in the streets of Los Angeles that day. Police made their rounds, pulling over unsuspecting people of color for inspections, hands resting on the guns on their belt, no doubt ready to pull out their weapon and shoot at even the slightest movement. They knew they held power over the people of color they abused and profiled, and they intended to make it known. However, following close behind are what many oppressed people would call guardian angels, a group of Black men and women armed with their own unconcealed and loaded firearms, kept close watch of the local police force, fingers hovering over their own trigger as if to let them know they too would not hesitate to shoot if they saw any signs of unnecessary oppression or violence. This group of men and women were known as the Black Panther Party. Originally called the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, they were a civil rights activist group whose name you might have heard before. Most often their name is followed by the negatives, being written off as violent communists, a stigmatism that is often mistaught even today. However, let it be known that the Black Panther Party were more than just a violent group who made bold claims. They were a self-run activist group built on the foundation of wanting to lessen the oppression of not just Black Americans, but also all oppressed people in America. They sought for equal rights, free health care, and even free housing. In this video, I will be breaking past the negative stereotypes and stigmatisms surrounding the Black Panther Party by talking about the trials they faced that led to these negative stereotypes and the violent, harsh backlash they received, as well as the contributions they made that still hold up even today. As stated, the Black Panthers were a civil rights activist group formed sometime in 1966 that remained active all the way up until an estimated 1982. They were formed with the original purpose to act as a small activist group who would patrol African American neighborhoods to protect its residents from acts of police brutality. However, in 1968, the group would quickly expand and develop to become a Marxist revolutionary group, whose main goals focused on releasing the hold capitalism had on the oppressed people, as well as to remove any and all oppression Black Americans, other people of color, and those who suffered from low-income wealth faced in America, especially from the federal government and the police force. They sought to liberate the oppressed, or the Black colony as they called it, through self-determination as a part of their larger goal to transform America and eventually the rest of the world. The Black Panthers were originally formed by two college students who attended Merritt College at the same time, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, who, following the assassination of Malcolm X, organized a group alongside other students of the college called the Black History Fact Group, a group that focused on bringing light the lack of acknowledgement of contributions of the Black community in history. However, following some disagreements, the two eventually left the group. Rather than joining another group, the two decided to form their own, creating the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, which would later be named just the Black Panther Party. Considering themselves students of Malcolm X, they formed this group in 1966, following the murder of unarmed teenager Matthew Johnson. It was this decision that led to the eventual creation of the large Marxist revolutionary group that we know of them as today. However, these two, despite being the founders, were the only important members that made up the group, and many things such as gender and conflicting ideals led to distinct contributions made by each important member. Alongside Newton and Seale was another leader of the Black Panther Party, a woman named Elaine Brown. Born in North Philadelphia and raised by a single mother, Brown was no stranger to economic hardships growing up. However, despite her family's struggles, she was given the opportunity to attend a private school, where she would later go on to briefly attend Temple University before dropping out to pursue a career in music in Los Angeles. It was here she met J. Richard Kennedy, a music executive, who educated her on capitalism, communism, and social injustice, which led to her becoming involved in the Black Liberation Movement. While working for the African American newspaper Harambe, She attended her first Black Panther meeting after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination in 1968. During her time as a member, Brown helped set up the first free breakfast for children's program in Los Angeles, following with providing its first free busing to prisons program and free legal aid program. She became an editor for the publication of The Black Panther and later replaced Eldridge Cleaver as a Minister of Information in 1973. Brown was chosen by Newton to lead in 1974 following his move to Cuba to avoid criminal charges. Brown would go on to lead a successful campaign for Lionel Wilson, Oakland's first African American mayor. Going on even further, she founded the Panthers Liberation School. However, in 1978, Brown left position of leader after Huey returned. She felt that there was a mistreatment of the female members of the Black Panther Party and found that they were not as recognized or appreciated as many of the male members. Drawing concerns to other issues, such as the women's rights movement being pushed aside, she soon left. However, her activism did not stop there, and even after she had left the Black Panther Party, she went on to advocate for radical prison reform and providing educational resources for African American children living in poverty. Even today, she continues to present lectures of the importance of prison reform. Elaine wasn't the only important female member in the Black Panther Party. In fact, despite the role gender did play, there were many important female party members that contributed to the success of the Black Panther Party and in implementing what they advocated for. Another one of these important members was Angela Davis, a political activist, professor, and author who was an active member in the Communist and Black Panther Party. Graduating from the University of California in the 1960s, she went on to join multiple groups, including the Black Panther Party, though she spent most of her time working with the Che Lumumba Club, which was an all-black branch of the Communist Party. She was hired to teach at the university from which she graduated from, though she soon faced trouble with the admin due to her association with communism. She was soon fired because of it. She brought her higher-ups to court and eventually won, getting back her job, though in 1970 she quit the moment her contract expired. However, she is most well known for her involvement with the Soledad brothers case, who were accused of killing a guard. During one of their trials, an escape attempt was made at gunpoint, and many people were killed. Davis was accused of being involved and was arrested for murder. They based the accusation in that she was in love with one of the brothers, something that was later proved untrue. After going into hiding and being placed on the FBI's most wanted list, Davis spent 18 months in jail, which led to the Free Angela Davis campaign. Following this, in 1972, Davis was released, and after her release, Angela Davis spent most of her time in traveling and lecturing, using her close ties to the Black Panther Party to help advocate for the abolishment of prisons and the prison system. In 1997, Davis came out as lesbian and continues to tackle the oppression women and the Black and queer community faced even today. These two women, alongside the many other men and women of the Black Panther Party, would go on to work together to make large changes that benefited the oppressed community during the Civil War, even when they themselves faced discrimination amongst members of their own activist party. The Black Panthers advocated for many things during the Civil War, such as the elimination of oppression, reform of the prison system, and assistance for those who lived low-income lives, such as free health care, housing, and food. The Black Panthers differed from other adversary groups in that they made a distinguishment between racist and non-racist white people, and together they would ally with them in order to implement changes that fought against economic and social inequality they faced. They didn't just want to integrate into American society, they wanted to change it for the better. During the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Panthers created what they called survival programs, where they would provide food, clothing, and transportation to those in need. While the Black Panthers believed in fighting greater political oppression, the Black Panthers also believed in helping the oppressed directly. They would provide free breakfast for school children and even provided free medical care. Together, the Black Panthers launched more than 35 of their survival programs, provided community help such as education, to tuberculosis testing and giving out free shoes to the poor people. One of their most notable examples of this is the Free Breakfast for Children program, which was first implemented in January 1969 and soon spread to every single Black Panther chapter in America. In response to the initiative taken, the federal government expanded their own program and made it permanent in 1975. Though they are originally an organization based on fighting back against police brutality, as it expanded, the Black Panthers were quick to advocate for other social reforms. They campaigned for prison reform, held voter registration drives, opened free health clinics, and even created freedom schools in 9 cities, including the noteworthy Oakland Community School, led by Erica Huggins from 1973 to 1981. It wasn't just economic or politically based issues that the Black Panthers fought against. Gender played a part in the roles of the Black Panther Party, and while both founders advocated for a gender inclusive activist community, female members still faced discrimination both inside the group and outside of it, a sentiment Brown shared a concern for. Female members rose. It forced the group to have conversations about the roles gender played in Black political organizations. It was in August 1970 Huey Newton issued an open letter in which, quote, he pushed the organization to express explicit support for the goals of the women's liberation movement, end quote. And in the same note, he would go on to show tolerance to the gay liberation movement that was going on at the time as well, stating that he considered them all oppressed people who needed to put aside their differences to fight against the bigger man. It was this that opened the door for the party to push back against traditional gender roles that didn't just come from being men or women, but also stemmed from being black men and women, such as the constant gender stereotyping of black men to be scary and overly masculine. The Black Panther Party's reflecting on gender roles paved the role for future activist movements to hold more progressive views on the importance members of both genders played in the fight against oppression. However, despite all the good they did and what good they promoted, and the relief they brought upon thousands in oppressed communities, the Black Panthers were not received as kindly. From the very beginning, the FBI saw the Black Panther Party as an enemy of the U.S. government, declaring them a communist organization. They did all they could to dismantle and take down the party. Hoover had pledged that 1969 would be the last year of the Black Panther Party and devoted the resources of the FBI into bringing upon that end through a program called COINTELPRO. In their efforts to take down the party, they used a combination of sabotage and the spread of misinformation. It wasn't until December 1969 that the FBI's campaign came to an end, with a full 5-hour police raid turned shootout at the Southern California headquarters of the Black Panther Party, where the Chicago Black Panther leader, Fred Hampton, was unfortunately killed. The acts committed by the FBI were so extreme that years later, when the documents of their crimes were revealed to the public, the director of the agency publicly apologized for, quote, wrongful uses of power, end quote. It was belief held by the Black Panther Party that, quote, nonviolent protests could not truly liberate Black Americans or give them power over their own lives, end quote, that led to the image given to them as being extremely violent in their ways, which allowed the voice of the FBI to whisper in the ears of doubters and instill fear and paranoia of the Black Panther Party, which sadly made dismantling them easier. It was following this, during the mid-1970s through the 80s, the activities of the Black Panther Party all but ceased. Though the demise of the group was greatly contributed by the acts of the FBI, it was ultimately the sudden loss of leadership that led to their final decline. Despite their eventual fall, it's still important that we continue to shine a light on what the Black Panthers really stood for and all that they accomplished during their time. In the end, the Black Panthers were a group of men and women who cared about the oppressed and wanted to change the world into a world that was safe and, most importantly, equal for them to live in. They fought hard to make the changes they did, changes that hold up even today. Many members of the Black Panthers still live today, and they are still advocating for what they believe in, And though the party may have fell many years ago, its influence still rides on strong today in movements such as the Black Lives Matter protest and other modern day activism. The Black Panthers live on through the voices that speak out today. Together, I believe we can continue on their legacy of changing the world to something that is livable for everyone.